Getting mired, feeling mired happens to the best of us, all of us. We get in situations where we feel there's no way out, there's no light at the end of the tunnel. Don't give in, though. Get help if you need it, but to the extent you can, go with it, adopt. We all get in slumps. We all contend with down periods. There are options, though. Explore them. Hold tight to your imagination. Practice possibility. Our chalice lighting words today come from To Renew the Spark of Imagination by Reverend Michelle Collins. Here we are, together, bearers of imagination, creators of new worlds. It is our imagination that lifts us beyond despair, that whispers, "What if?" and dares us to answer. Today, we gather to renew that spark, to embrace the power to dream. Come, let us imagine boldly and worship together. I invite Nitai to come forward and light our chalice, and please join with lighting in the chalice by saying the chalice lighting words in the order of service. We light this chalice for the warmth of love, for the youth of truth, and for the energy of action. Thank you, Nitai. So good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Ogden. My name is Tim, and I'm glad to be your worship leader today. Our minister, Kristen, serves our congregation remotely. We're so glad you're here today in this community that strives to be loving, inclusive, and compassionate. We all get stuck at times. Sometimes we have momentary setbacks, experience disappointment, move on. Every day we encounter some sort of situation that requires resilience, and we manage them without a second thought. Sometimes it's deeper, but we know how to manage the situation thanks to experience, and though we may struggle, we're able to move on. Sometimes it goes beyond that, and sometimes it goes beyond what we think we can control or manage. Today, Chalice and I are your speakers. The theme for this month's services is practicing possibility, and we'll talk about what it means to be stuck. One way to connect with this community is to let us know you're here. If you're a newcomer, welcome. We're so glad you're here. We encourage you to fill out a newcomer card in the pews and put it in the offering basket when it comes by later. And please stay and chat with us after the service. We'll be meeting across the hall. If you're joining us online, please fill out the newcomer card online. And if you've been a longtime member of the congregation, we encourage you to wear your name tag. This helps everyone feel more connected and helps our newcomers get to know you more easily. We love having people of all ages in this community. As you came in, we hope you saw the basket of activities for hands that like to stay busy. This is for all of you of any age. We welcome all of the wiggles and sounds of a multi-generational community. And if you haven't already, please put your phones on silent. We're so glad each and every one of you are here. Welcome. So this comes from Henry Juntila. He's not a household name. He's a Finnish man who offers his thoughts online to anyone willing to read them. This comes from tinybuddha.com. When you're stuck, surrender to being stuck. I notice the thoughts and feelings within me that say that I'm stuck and that something is wrong. If I stay completely in this moment, there is no being stuck. There's only the label of a situation, a label that I've invented based on what I think my life should look like. When I notice all this going on, I breathe a deep sigh of relief. But that doesn't mean that the feelings go away. I might still feel the anxiety, but it doesn't have a death grip on me anymore. I can see the play of thoughts. I can surrender to what comes, and I still fall into resisting. But I'm getting better at letting it be what it is. I'm getting better at enjoying being stuck. The funny thing is that when we enjoy being stuck, we're not stuck anymore, because being stuck was all in our head. This is from an uncredited sermon from 2018 at the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Asheville in North Carolina. Whatever your fear, your insecurity, your self-doubts, you will regret running from it, hardening your heart against its call. Stuck as you may be in the armor you thought would protect you, you must give it up. Lift the oars from the water and rest. This is from the poem Wild Geese by poet Mary Oliver. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things. And finally, this is from author Adrienne Mary Brown. Nature has taught me about fluid adaptability, about not only weathering storms, but using howling winds to spread seeds wide, torrential rains to nurture roots so they can grow deeper and stronger. Nature has taught me that a storm can be used to clear out branches that are dying, to let go of that which was keeping us from growing in new directions. These are lessons we need for organizing. As Octavia taught us, the only lasting truth is change. We will face social and political storms we could not even imagine. The question becomes not just how do we survive them, but how do we prepare so when we do suddenly find ourselves in the midst of an unexpected onslaught, we can capture the potential, the possibilities inherent in the chaos, and ride it like dawn skimming the horizon.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in our heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roads hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Spirit of life, come unto us. Sing in our heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise
Very nice. There are many times when I felt stuck, hopeless, as if things are going wrong and there's no way to get them on the right track. At this stage in my life, I know enough to realize, at least cognitively, that getting stuck is pretty much the reality of life. We're always going to get stuck and we'll somehow have to figure a way to get ourselves out of it. We'll inevitably face obstacles that seem insurmountable. It's the reality of life. The key, though, is to keep moving, create plans, strategies to deal with whatever dire situation faces you. Implement them. By taking action, it at least gives you a sense of moving forward. Many times I've felt stuck in life. Maybe I felt the job I had wasn't going anywhere. Maybe it was because I felt there was more I could squeeze out of life. There were more adventurous things out there to experience. Looking back, I remember my response each time was to search for solutions, to pursue them even if action seemed futile. I was working at a newspaper in my 20s in a small Nebraska city, a good enough place, I suppose, for someone more settled in life. But for where I was at in life, though, the place felt like a dead end. I had to do something, though. I couldn't just sit and stew. I remember volunteering to help backstage at a local theater production. I started going to the local library and checking out all these books on Watergate, of all things. Books by G. Gordon Liddy, John Dean, and others. I don't know, it was struck my curiosity. Finally, I started sending resumes out all over the place for jobs in bigger cities. None of my resumes caught anyone's eye, but eventually a college friend pointed me to an unpaid internship, unpaid opportunity in Mexico City. I had money in the bank. When you're feeling stuck, have the good sense to lay the groundwork for being unstuck, and I went. I started getting paid at the job in Mexico, a pittance, but it worked out. After that, I ended up in Texas, and having been in Mexico, started feeling stuck again, restless. I wasn't in misery. I had a steady paycheck, worked with an interesting group of people. Nonetheless, I felt a sensation that there had to be more. Felt like I was treading in water. I wanted to see South America. Another round of job hunting commenced, and this was in the late 1990s. I don't exactly recall how I searched out opportunities, but I think I made a lot of international phone calls and built up a pretty sizable phone bill. The search itself gave me a sense of purpose, a sense that I was taking action, and that kind of helped fang off the pangs of stagnancy. Had nothing materialized, I don't know what plan B or plan C would have been, but something popped up, an opportunity in Chile. And working in newspapers for most of my life, perhaps the biggest sensation of feeling stuck came in the early to mid 2010s when the industry really started to fall apart. I was at a newspaper in Indiana, several years out of Chile, and the local family that owned it sold it off to a chain of smaller newspapers. Numerous reporters, editors, and others were subsequently let go in the name of cutting costs to make the newspaper profitable. Others left, took other jobs. I survived the job cuts, but couldn't escape the sense I was on a sinking ship, that I was adrift. Again, I felt stuck. Newspapers have always been focus of at least a measure of public derision from some. But after the change in ownership and job cuts, it seemed to compound, furthering the sense of being on a downward spiral. I looked into a few jobs outside the industry, but nothing struck me. Nothing materialized. The answer I found was to redouble my efforts at the newspaper, to look past the derision, whether real or perceived, and do what I could to prop up the publication, even if we were now a skeleton staff. Those who remained were capable, and in this period, I actually wrote what I think is one of the best articles I've ever written. My favorite, anyway. And as when I volunteered for a theater production many years before, I looked outside of work. I started helping with an English as a second language class for adults in the community. Then came the opportunity to come to Utah in the Standard Examiner, the paper here, which was relatively healthy at the time. I won't belabor it, but the same forces that ripped apart the newspaper in Indiana impacted the Standard Examiner starting a little over a year after I arrived. The newspaper was sold, jobs were slashed, people left as the new owners sought profitability. For a time, a capable core crew remained, but little by little, people left and were not rehired. I felt stuck. But taking the lessons from my Indiana experience, I figured I had to do what I could. I couldn't control what happens with the newspaper. That's the domain of the owners. But I could help with the content. I could do what I can to fill the pages. Similar to Indiana, I also looked beyond the office, started teaching an English as a second language class at the Ogden Library. It helped. Ultimately, another opportunity emerged, and here I am. Life will always throw curveballs. Who knows what's to come? But I know there are always options by and large, even if they don't align with whatever vision of the future you may have had. Tough times will come, but you have to be resourceful, come up with a plan, seek help where it's available. You may feel like your life is a train wreck, second guess earlier decisions, wonder how you could have avoided the situation you're in. Truth is, though, we all get stuck. Just know there are possibilities. Chalice?
Morning. Babysitter, unpaid caterer's assistant for my mom, pet sitter, professional ice cream scooper, sandwich artist, high school custodian, door-to-door religious salesperson, call center employee, library page, chemistry teaching assistant, unpaid sheriff's department intern, analytical chemist, quality manager, research and development chemist, project manager, undergraduate research assistant, medical laboratory scientist, university assistant professor. What do all these jobs have in common? Me, that's right. Professor Craig Oberg of Weber State's microbiology department taught our microbial genetics class over 20 years ago that we can learn much wisdom from bacteria, especially the concept of mutate or die. Our lives are a series of challenging events, one after another. The moment we emerge from the womb, our immune systems are challenged by a variety of foreign viruses, bacteria, and antigens that all want to make us sick or kill us. Our families of origin may not be the most supportive of individuals that can make growing up harder and our future prospects less successful. Our local and national economic realities can make our lives harder to obtain the basic necessities we need to survive and to grow into adulthood. All around us, there are obstacles and circumstances that make our lives that much more difficult. How do we survive this constant gauntlet of trial and torment? By embracing the power of possibility, or in other words, mutate or die. You also need to have a strong sense of curiosity, and in my case, no sense of shame. There is nothing so humbling than going door to door in the United States trying to get strangers to talk to you about religion. especially a peculiar one, Mormons. So, okay. Luckily, I was raised by two very hardworking parents who instilled in me a strong Protestant work ethic. The belief that as long as you worked hard enough, things would be all right. In today's economic climate, we all know that this belief is very naive, and but this was the late 70s, early 80s, before Reaganomics and trickle-down economics screwed over the middle and lower classes. But that is a rant for another day, and I will spare you all my socialist diatribes. So, from an early age, my parents taught me how to earn money. As a kid growing up in San Diego, our home was on a quarter-acre lot with a ton of fruit trees. I was paid a penny an apricot to pick up the fallen fruit on the ground before the wasps and the ants got to them. I also, when my mom got sick of us running around the house, she would send us outside with a 5-gallon bucket and an old screwdriver, and we were not allowed to come back inside until we had filled the bucket full of weeds from the backyard. My parents also taught me that any work was good work as long as it was honest. I have held on to this philosophy my entire life. As you can tell from my job history, I have done a variety of things to earn a paycheck, some of them more prestigious than others. From having such a diverse background in occupations, I have learned many valuable lessons about myself, about life, and about people. These lessons have enriched my life and helped me to be more successful in surviving the challenges that I have experienced along the way. One thing that I learned is that people can be really, really weird about their food. When I worked for Hoagie Yogi in the late 90s in San Diego, we had some very odd requests from our customers. One man would insist that we would carve out little divots in the bread for each of his meatballs in his meatball sub. Because you know, when you take a bite and then they pop out, like that, he couldn't handle that. Another customer would insist on inspecting the avocados before we were allowed to put any on her sandwich. And eventually, she would just start bringing her own avocados and then putting them on afterwards, which I guarantee is against the health code. But I noticed with each of our customers, regardless of their quirks, that as long as, I smiled and I had patience, they were just fine to deal with and could even joke about their weird habits. As human beings go, we're all a little weird in our own way and all deserve a little patience, except for maybe the avocado lady. She was mean. She was a Karen before we all knew what a Karen was. Okay. Again, this was like the mid to late 90s. Okay. Another lesson I learned was that no matter a person's situation in life or what they did for a living, they had wisdom worth learning. One of my favorite jobs was as a part-time custodian at Mira Mesa High School, which is the largest high school in the San Diego County School District. The campus was huge and was divided up between about 6 full-time custodians and 2 part-timers. Since I was the newest member on the staff, I got the dubious honor of cleaning the lunch court bathrooms. They were the worst on campus. It was actually a blessing when the boys would set fire to the paper towels in the metal trash can because it would give it like a nice campfire smell for a few days, as opposed to its normal smell. I was worried about being a woman, the only woman, and a young woman at that in this male-dominated department, but I needed to have no such worry. All of my coworkers were so friendly and welcoming. They treated me like a little sister and had no problem teaching me so many of their time-saving tips and tricks. They didn't judge me, a young female college student who was using this job as a means to an end, a temporary gig, while this was their career and how they provided for their families. They took pride in what they did, even though they were so often overlooked and underappreciated by the rest of the staff of the high school. They were also masters of subtle customer service / manipulation, in that the teachers who gave us all the leftover treats from their classroom parties always seemed to have slightly cleaner classrooms and got much more prompt garbage disposal service. Working with them also reinforced the age-old saying of never judge a book by its cover. One of my coworkers, Cowboy Bill, looked like an old hippie ranch hand with his long hair and his scuffed boots and worn out Wranglers. But he was an avid reader and a lifelong learner. He had the best book recommendations. Because of him, I read the book, The Search for the Pink-Headed Duck, A Journey into the Himalayas and Down the Brahmaputra by Rory Nugent, about a man's journey through India looking for an extremely rare bird. This was one of my first exposures to travel writing, and I fell in love with the genre. As a poor college kid, I couldn't exactly gallivant around the planet, but I could metaphorically travel through books. After my time as a high school custodian, I took a few years off of college and served a mission for the LDS Church. Even though this was an unpaid volunteer position, I still considered it a job. Regardless of how you feel about door-to-door religious groups, it is hard work. We were up at 6:30 every morning for personal and group study with our mission partner or companion. We were out the door at 9 a.m., hitting the streets in order to find people to talk to. We only got breaks for lunch and dinner and had to be home by 9 p.m. every evening. I put a lot of miles on my shoes. Lost my place. I put a lot of miles on my shoes during those 18 months I spent walking around the suburbs of Chicago. One of the lessons I learned as a missionary is that the second worst way a person can answer a question is to just say no. The worst way they can answer is by sticking their dogs on you. Rude. Just remember, you don't need to outrun the dogs. You just need to outrun your companion. So. Okay, so I had an infinite number of doors slammed in my face over those 18 months. And after a while, you actually began to appreciate the efficient honesty of it. Not interested, okay, thanks. We'd move along. Don't be passive aggressively polite by hemming and hawing. Don't string us along and get our hopes up. One lady was delightfully refreshing one day as we were walking up her driveway. Her and her partner were at the side of the house barbecuing. And when she saw us walking up, she shouted, "No thanks, ladies, we're pagans." We gave her a thumbs up and wished her a good day. I also learned that if someone is not interested, they're not interested, and don't be pushy and annoying. As my mom always says, you catch more flies with honey than you do vinegar. I'd rather be polite than persistent and obnoxious, leaving a bad impression. There is a reason why car salesmen and pushy door-to-door religious door knockers have a bad reputation. In 2017, I had a midlife crisis and decided to go back to school. I was sick of working in the pharmaceutical industry, making money for anonymous shareholders by helping them develop mediocre products. I decided that if I was going to earn a living in our late-stage capitalist hellscape, then I would do it in a way that was more beneficial to humanity. I went to the University of Utah and got a second bachelor's degree in medical laboratory sciences so I could do chemistry on people. I graduated in 2019 and started working in healthcare a year before a global pandemic. Excellent timing. COVID-19 hit, and our collective reality was turned on its head. Talk about mutate or die. I soon found myself in the parking lot of my hospital every Monday morning in the COVID tent working the drive-through. One of the reasons I went to college is so that I wouldn't have to work in a drive-through. The early days of the pandemic were dark and scary for so many of us, but I also found humor in it. There I was, a trained scientist with 2 science degrees, working a drive-through, picking people's noses for a paycheck. I recently read a meme that said, "How can you make jokes at a time like this? Sir, that dark sense of humor is a load-bearing structure." Or to quote my mother, if you can laugh at it, you can live with it. And honestly, I think so many of us, especially those of us who were working in healthcare, survived the pandemic because of our dark sense of humor. We were hip deep in tragedy all around us. My hospital was the first death in the COVID death in the state of Utah. I watched our ED team try to resuscitate someone's elderly mother whose heart stopped seemingly out of nowhere due to a COVID infection. I sat in the room holding a cooler with bags of emergency blood, listening to her ribs crack, while the physicians had to explain to her distraught daughter that she was not coming back from this and to please let her go. I was grateful that I wasn't in New York or Houston during the pandemic. My healthcare colleagues over there had it so much worse. But death and pain are by no means a zero-sum game, and we all experienced our fair share. The mental health practitioners in our congregation may not approve of a dark sense of humor as a healthy coping mechanism. But having those funny, but no doubt wildly inappropriate sparks of joy throughout the darkness helped me maintain my sanity. As one of my old coworkers used to say about her $5 a day Starbucks habit, at least it's not math. In closing, life is hard. It's a series of joys and triumphs, of struggles and disappointments. Survival is never promised, and death is the only guarantee. But how you survive is entirely up to you. Be patient. Learn from those around you, regardless of who they are and what they do. Facing life with courage, humility, curiosity, and a little bit of dark humor can get you a long way. Thank you.
Thank you, Chalice. Good stuff as always. So our prayer today, a prayer for imagination, comes from poet Rosemary Watola Trommer. There are so many boundaries in me, so many limitations, prisons, places where a line has been drawn. Perhaps by another, perhaps by me. The lines say, stop. The lines say, don't be curious. They say, make yourself small, now smaller. But imagination is the big pink eraser that rubs out the lines, smears and disappears them. Sometimes it's more like a terror, a small rip in the known that bids me look through the lines as if peeking through a curtain. And sometimes the imagination takes a line and bends it, twists it like a clown with a balloon until what I thought was a boundary becomes bird, becomes crown, becomes flower. Or it turns the line perpendicular so what I thought was a deadline becomes path. I want to listen for the voices beyond the boundaries. Want to open to what I can't yet see. I want to hear the welcome of the horizon and, like a bell calling me home, let it lead me. Amen. I invite you to think back on our past week and to bring forward in your memories a moment of joy. Remember the moment as vividly as possible, the sights and sounds and feelings associated with that moment. Let your body rest in joy for a moment. So we continue our collective prayer by coming forward to engage in our weekly ritual that helps us to collectively hold the challenges and joys of being human. As you light a candle, let it hold your hopes, memories, and gratitudes for this beautiful, complicated world and for our lives. And as you drop a stone in our sacred gathering waters, may it be an opportunity to imagine those burdens and quests for forgiveness held in a community that will let the stone land with care and intention. Please come forward. Our offering is a practice of gratitude for this community filled with care and courage, love and resistance. We commit to keeping this community resourced for the ministries ahead, both in our walls and beyond. The offering we collect each week supports us in being the community that can best respond to the needs of these times. As we collect our offering today, we remember our interconnectedness and interdependence, and we generously offer our care with hopes to support all through these times. And if I could get a couple of volunteers. Sorry. So please rise and body your voice, and facing the center aisle, sing together the offering song printed in your order of service.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
Your abundant generosity is part of modeling care and love. Thank you. So, want to convey your thoughts about the Great Salt Lake? The Great Salt Lake Letter Writing Workshop is set for next Sunday, May 25th, here at the church from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Join Steve Glaser of Citizens Climate Lobby and Maya Karbasi of Grow the Flow in a proven step-by-step process to write to your Utah lawmaker in support of the lake. The UUCO 2025 annual meeting is coming up on Sunday, June 8th, few weeks from now, right after the service that day. Hope to see you there. If you haven't already, today and next Sunday will be the last opportunities to see the UUCO Museum right after the services across in the gymnasium building. I don't know what it's called, but it's on the ground floor if you haven't seen it. And it's pledge season, but it's never too late to give. A QR code is in the weekly newsletter that'll bring you to the website where you can offer your donation. All help is greatly appreciated. Starting next week, people with children under 5 can send the kids to the nursery with the Presbyterian congregation, which the nursery is just up the hallway. Should be more information, some informational packets next week. Our manager of congregational life, Marianne, who I don't see here today, she'll be out for a few months, and we will need some help kind of doing the things that she's been doing. You can reach out to Marianne via email at admin@uuco.org. And come on Tuesday from 12 to 12, not come, but on Tuesday from 12 to 12:15 p.m., take part in Reverence, which is a quick Zoom gathering we held each week. Reverend Kristen, I believe, leads it to fill our spirits and to connect. Kind of a recharge during the week. And the book club will be meeting June 18th at 7 p.m. here. And the book for the month is George Orwell's 1984. Codger Coffee every Friday at 9:30 a.m. at Grounds for Coffee by Ogden High School. Our counterparts at First Unitarian Church of Salt Lake City are holding Harmony Fest on Saturday, May 31st from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. That would be a couple weeks from now, and you are invited. The event is about coming together, celebrating what unites us through shared experiences in music, art, and movement. Finally, the UUA General Assembly is set for June 18 to 22 in Baltimore, Maryland. If you're interested in attending or have questions, reach out to Reverend Kristen. And details of all of these events are in the newsletter, are in the online newsletter. Now, please rise. Oh, yeah, Dharma, you want to come? Why don't you come on up here and into the mic so the online people can hear you.
So just for today, after our planning and vision meeting last week, Tom and I came up with an idea. We're excited to announce that we'll have an outdoor club from this church. So it's just a great opportunity to do something outside of the service to connect with people in nature. Obviously, the weather didn't send us sunshine today, but checking the forecast, these rain showers are moving past us in the next hour. So we're looking at today to do an introductory hike. And we invite anyone to come. Just bring yourself in your shoes and raincoat and water bottle. And we'll likely be doing a waterfall, canyon, or something easy, like to get acquainted with each other. And we'll plan other things in the future and hikes and more. But we'll just start with something today to see how nature comes out after a beautiful spring rainstorm, and we'll expect birds will be singing and flowers blooming. So it should be, don't be afraid to get a little bit wet, but also the rain's stopping. So come join us if you'd like. Let me know.
Do you have a time?
Yeah, we'll go after about a half-hour break for coffee and snacks, and then we'll rally and see who's ready to go up to the trailhead. Okay.
Thank you, Dharma. Is that a weekly thing or still just working out the details? Okay, thank you. Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing our closing hymn, which is number 345 in the gray hymnal. With joy, we claim the growing light. As the service comes to an end, join me in saying the chalice extinguishing words in your order of service. We extinguish this chalice, but not the warmth of love, the light of truth, nor the energy of action. So life is a series of ups and downs, a never-ending roller coaster. You overcome one challenge and another one presents itself. Keep up the fight, though. Keep it up. It's worth it.
Thank you.